Was Chris Tucker not talked about being in next Friday? Because I know it was Mike Epps, but
Yeah, we wanted him. You know, he turned it down.
really?
Yeah, he turned it down. You'll hear 1,000 different stories, but yeah, we wanted to pay him $12 million to do that movie.
What? Even a massive $12 million payday still wasn't enough to get Chris Tucker back into the role that made him a comedy legend. More than 25 years after Friday turned Chris Tucker and Ice Cube into one of the most unforgettable comedy duos ever, fans still keep asking the same thing. Why did Smokey suddenly vanish while the franchise kept moving without him? What looked like a simple Hollywood casting switch was actually tied to faith, fame, money problems, and serious tension behind the scenes that changed everything. So why did Chris Tucker walk away from Friday right when the franchise was blowing up? And what has Ice Cube finally revealed about the fallout between them after all these years? We're breaking down the real story behind Chris Tucker's shocking exit from Friday and the reason Ice Cube reportedly had no plans to work with him again. The man who came straight out of Compton definitely had something to say. Friday wasn't some random movie deal that just landed in Ice Cube's lap. The project came from years of pressure, struggle, and real-life experiences that shaped him long before Hollywood ever called. By the time he started building the film, Ice Cube had already faced more chaos and career drama in his teens and early 20s than most people deal with in a lifetime. Born O'Shea Jackson in the Baldwin Hills area of South Central Los Angeles, Ice Cube grew up in a hard-working family. His mother, Doris, worked as a hospital clerk, while his father, Hosea, worked as a groundskeeper at UCLA. The nickname Ice Cube actually came from his older brother, who joked about O'Shea's calm confidence around older girls. The name stuck so hard that many longtime fans barely even connect it to the funny story behind it anymore. As crime and drug activity started getting worse across South Central in the early 1980s, his parents made a major decision that changed his life. Instead of sending him to the local schools nearby, they had teenage O'Shea bust out to a suburban high school in the San Fernando Valley. For a kid raised around the rough streets of South Central, seeing the wealth, calm neighborhoods, and totally different lifestyle in the valley hit him hard and opened his eyes in a big way. For the first time in his life, Ice Cube was able to look at his hometown from the outside, and that changed everything. Seeing both the struggles of South Central and the totally different world outside of it pushed him to start writing about real life from both angles. At just 16 years old, he wrote Boys in the Hood for Eazy-E, a song that would later become one of the most important records in gangsta rap history. He had already been writing rhymes since his early teens after a friend challenged him to try it, and people around him quickly realized his talent was on another level. Before music fully took over his life, Ice Cube even went to the Phoenix Institute of Technology in Arizona, where he earned a diploma in architectural drafting. Years later, he joked that the diploma ended up being almost useless once he rushed back to Los Angeles to chase music full-time. That move led to the creation of NWA, alongside Eazy-E and Dr. Dre, with Ice Cube writing a huge part of their groundbreaking 1988 album, Straight Outta Compton. The album featured F the Police, the explosive track that sparked major controversy and even triggered a warning letter from the FBI. The music shook the industry so hard that NWA was eventually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2016. What makes it even crazier is that Ice Cube helped create one of the most influential rap albums ever before he was even 20 years old. Then came the money dispute that changed everything. Ice started feeling like he wasn't getting the royalties and respect his work deserved. So in December 1989, he made the shocking decision to walk away from NWA completely and bet on himself as a solo artist. A lot of people thought it was risky, but he came back swinging hard with America's Most Wanted in 1990, produced with the Bomb Squad in New York. The album instantly earned praise as one of the boldest and most politically charged hip-hop records ever released. He kept the momentum going with Death Certificate in 1991 and The Predator in 1992, building a solo catalog that many critics believed matched, or even outdid, his work with NWA. But even with all the success, those albums carried a heavy and intense tone that wasn't exactly designed for mainstream Hollywood audiences. The Ice Cube making those records wasn't the type most studios expected to see walking into comedy movie meetings, which is exactly why his move into film shocked so many people. That's also why the idea behind Friday was planned so carefully from the start. Before the movie could even happen, somebody had to take a huge chance on a rapper known for controversial music and FBI attention starring in a comedy film. And the story behind that gamble is way deeper than most fans realize. Ice Cube and DJ Pooh didn't want to make another movie that only focused on violence and chaos in the hood. Their goal was to show the side people rarely saw. The funny moments, the everyday conversations, the neighborhood personalities, and the real-life situations that existed beyond the headlines. Ice Cube has openly said that most of Friday was pulled straight from his own experiences growing up, with many scenes inspired by actual people and events from his life. Craig getting fired on his day off was reportedly inspired by something that happened to Ice Cube's cousin. Smokey getting trapped in trouble with a drug dealer came directly from stories connected to DJ Pooh's own past. That's what gave the movie its authentic feeling. It wasn't built from fake Hollywood drama, it came from real memories and real neighborhood energy that audiences instantly connected with. When they pitched the script to New Line Cinema, they pointed to Kevin Smith's Clerks as proof that a low-budget comedy set mostly in one location could still become a major hit. The studio eventually agreed to back the project, but there were some serious conditions attached. The budget was kept tight at just $3.5 million. The filming schedule was squeezed into only 20 days, and New Line pushed hard for Ice Cube to team up with a comedian who already had strong comedy credibility. The studio wanted extra reassurance that the movie would actually land with audiences and deliver the laughs. For the role of Smokey, Ice Cube and DJ Pooh originally thought about casting DJ Pooh himself, but New Line Cinema quickly shut that idea down. After that, names like Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson were considered before they finally focused on a young comedian from Atlanta named Chris Tucker. At the time, Tucker was mostly known for his wild energy on Def Comedy Jam and had only appeared in a small role in House Party 3. Nobody knew yet that he was about to help create one of the most iconic comedy characters of the 1990s. What surprises a lot of fans is that Chris Tucker almost didn't get the role at all. Reports say his first audition wasn't very strong, and the chemistry between him and Ice Cube just didn't click in the room. There were real doubts behind the scenes about whether he was the right fit for Smokey, but after getting another shot, everything suddenly changed. The chemistry showed up, the jokes started landing naturally, and the team realized they had found something special. Filming took place during a fast and intense 20-day shoot in August 1994 on 126th Street in South Central Los Angeles, the actual childhood block of director F. Gary Gray. Many of the homes used in the movie belonged to people Gray personally knew, which made the whole project feel even more authentic. The environment was so real that cast and crew were reportedly warned not to wear red clothing during filming because the color was linked to the Bloods street gang, while the neighborhood was heavily connected to the Crips. Wearing the wrong color could have created serious problems on set. During filming, things got so real that actual gang members reportedly stepped into one of the scenes and refused to move. Instead of forcing them out, the production team had to carefully work around the situation and keep filming without creating bigger problems. That's how close Friday was to the real environment it was showing on screen. Chris Tucker also brought a completely different energy to the movie because so much of his funniest material was improvised on the spot. His legendary line, "You got knocked the F out," wasn't even written in the original script. Chris came up with it in the moment, everybody cracked up, and the line instantly earned a place in the film. A lot of scenes started growing way beyond what was written because Tucker kept adding jokes and reactions in real time. Sometimes a one-page scene would suddenly turn into 2 pages once he got rolling, and director F. Gary Gray was smart enough to let the cameras keep going whenever the magic started happening. Even with all that energy, the early screenings still had everyone nervous. Chris Tucker, Ice Cube, and F. Gary Gray reportedly sat there wondering if audiences would even connect with the movie at all. Then, Friday exploded way beyond anybody's expectations. Released on April 26, 1995, in 865 theaters, the film pulled in around $6.5 million during its opening weekend alone, nearly doubling its entire budget in just a few days. What started as a small comedy shot in 20 days on one block in South Central suddenly became a cultural classic. People are still quoting nearly 30 years later. For Chris Tucker, Friday changed everything in a massive way. Before the movie, he was mostly known as a young stand-up comedian trying to break into Hollywood. After Friday, he suddenly became one of the hottest comedy stars in the entire industry almost overnight. The wild energy he brought to Smokey, the non-stop talking, the over-the-top reactions, the fast improvising, and the humor hiding underneath all the chaos felt completely fresh to audiences at the time. People instantly realized Chris Tucker had something special, and Hollywood moved fast to cash in on it. Within just a couple of years after Friday, he landed major roles in The Fifth Element alongside Bruce Willis, Money Talks with Charlie Sheen, and Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. Then came the movie that pushed his fame to another level entirely, Rush Hour in 1998 with Jackie Chan. The film became a giant worldwide hit and kicked off one of the biggest buddy comedy franchises ever made. By the time Rush Hour 2 came out in 2001, Tucker had reportedly negotiated a jaw-dropping $20 million salary. Then for Rush Hour 3 in 2007, reports claimed he earned around $25 million, making him one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood during that period. It's honestly wild to think that the same actor who almost lost the role of Smokey became one of the most valuable comedy stars on the planet in less than 10 years. But here's the twist that still shocks a lot of fans when they look back at Chris Tucker's career. Between the release of Rush Hour in 1998 and Rush Hour 3 in 2007, nearly a full decade, Tucker barely appeared in any movies outside of the Rush Hour franchise. Not one major non-Rush Hour film role during that entire stretch. Instead, he spent time appearing in Michael Jackson music videos, doing charity work across Africa, and showing up at public events while his movie career suddenly slowed down in a way Hollywood rarely sees from a star that big. What makes it even crazier is that the reason behind that slowdown had reportedly been building for years, long before Rush Hour ever turned him into a global superstar. And that's where the story circles right back to Friday. When Next Friday was announced, fans automatically assumed Chris Tucker would return as Smokey. To most people, it didn't even feel possible to continue the franchise without the chemistry between him and Ice Cube. Their back-and-forth energy was such a huge part of what made the first movie explode in popularity, but behind the scenes, things were already moving in a totally different direction, leading to what many people now see as one of the biggest missed sequel opportunities in comedy history. Even a reported $12 million payday wasn't enough to bring Tucker back. Ice Cube knew how important Smokey was to the Friday franchise, and he reportedly came into negotiations ready to spend serious money to bring Chris Tucker back. According to Ice Cube, the offer for Next Friday was somewhere between $10 million and $12 million, an absolutely huge payday for a sequel to a movie that originally operated on a tiny budget. What makes the number even crazier is how little everyone earned during the first film. Friday was made for only about $3.5 million, and most of the cast, including Chris Tucker, were reportedly paid close to standard union scale because the production simply didn't have extra money to throw around. So jumping from that level to a possible $12 million offer in just 5 years showed how massive Tucker's Hollywood value had become after films like Rush Hour blew up worldwide. But despite the huge offer, Chris Tucker still said no. And according to reports, it wasn't because he was demanding more money or trying to force a bigger deal. He simply walked away from the sequel completely. For years, fans kept spreading theories about what really happened behind the scenes. Some believed there had been a secret money dispute, while others thought Ice Cube and Tucker had some kind of personal fallout they didn't want to discuss publicly. The real explanation turned out to be something very different. In December 2021, a fan directly asked Ice Cube on Twitter why Chris Tucker never returned for the Friday sequels, and many people still assumed money was the main issue at the time. The opportunity for Chris Tucker to return as Smokey didn't disappear overnight. It was reportedly offered more than once. But after turning it down again and again, that door slowly closed in a way that still hasn't been reopened. Speaking on the Full Send podcast, Ice Cube explained the situation very directly. He said people have created 1,000 different stories about what happened, but according to him, the truth was simple. They were ready to pay Chris Tucker around $12 million for the movie, and Tucker decided not to do it. What stood out to a lot of fans was Ice Cube's tone when talking about it. He didn't sound furious or personally bitter. Instead, he sounded more like a producer who made a huge offer, got turned down, and had no choice but to move forward without the actor he originally wanted most for the role. After Tucker stepped away, Mike Epps was brought in to play Day Day, Craig's cousin, in Next Friday in 2000 and Friday After Next in 2002. Epps brought his own comedy style and a lot of energy to the sequels, and both movies still made solid money at the box office. But even years later, many fans and critics continue to say the sequels never fully matched the cultural impact of the original Friday. The biggest reason people point to is the missing chemistry between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker that made the first movie feel so unforgettable. So where is Chris Tucker now? And after walking away from a reported $12 million payday, does he actually regret the decision? That question has followed him for years, especially as fans kept wondering why one of the biggest comedy stars in Hollywood suddenly stepped away from the spotlight. Now 54 years old, Chris Tucker has spent decades making career choices that often confused and sometimes frustrated people inside the entertainment industry. But what's interesting is that Tucker himself never seemed too bothered by it. After Rush Hour 3 dropped in 2007, he basically disappeared from major movie roles for years. At first, Hollywood seemed shocked by the move. Then eventually, the industry just accepted that Tucker was operating on his own terms. Part of the reason was simple. He had already earned massive amounts of money, enough to make working completely optional. Tucker also explained publicly that he only wanted to take roles that truly meant something to him instead of constantly filling his schedule with projects just for a paycheck. While that may sound reasonable, Hollywood usually moves fast, and actors who stay away too long often lose momentum quickly. Still, when Tucker finally returned, he did it carefully and on his own timeline. In 2012, he appeared in Silver Linings Playbook in a supporting role that earned strong reviews and reminded audiences that his screen presence and comedic timing were still there. Even after years away from major films, he showed he could still light up a scene the moment he stepped on screen. In 2015, Chris Tucker returned to stand up with the Netflix special Chris Tucker Live, and fans quickly noticed he wasn't the same performer from the Smokey days anymore. His comedy had become more mature, more personal, and far more reflective after years away from the nonstop Hollywood spotlight. Then in 2022, he stepped back onto the big screen in Air, appearing alongside Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Viola Davis while playing Nike executive Howard White in the story about Michael Jordan's legendary partnership with the company. Then came another major surprise. In November 2025, reports confirmed that production had officially started on Rush Hour 4 with both Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan returning. Even stranger, reports also claimed that U.S. President Donald Trump had encouraged the sequel to happen, which sounds completely unbelievable next to a Rush Hour movie announcement, but multiple outlets discussed it at the time. Behind the scenes, Tucker's financial story has also had some rough chapters over the years. Even though he reportedly earned around $40 million from the Rush Hour franchise, he later faced highly publicized IRS problems, including reports of roughly $11 million in federal and state tax liens by 2012. His home was also reportedly foreclosed on in 2011. Since then, he has worked on rebuilding financially through major stand-up comedy tours around the world, including shows in Australia, the Middle East, and the Riyadh Comedy Festival in 2025. When it comes to Smokey and the Friday movies, Chris Tucker seems to have reached a more complicated and thoughtful place over the years. He has said in interviews that he doesn't completely regret making the original film at all. In fact, he recognizes that Friday changed his life and opened huge doors for his career. But at the same time, he also admitted that the character eventually started representing something he became uncomfortable with as his faith grew stronger, especially the movie's heavy marijuana humor. Tucker explained in one interview that Friday became such a massive cultural hit that he worried about the influence it could have on audiences. He reportedly said he did not want everybody smoking weed, and that concern became one of the reasons he chose not to return for the sequel. What's interesting is that Tucker also admitted he had almost forgotten this was part of his mindset until someone asked him about it years later. Looking at the full arc of his career, Chris Tucker's decisions show someone who repeatedly chose personal comfort and personal beliefs over the biggest possible paycheck. Turning down a reported $12 million to avoid returning to a weed-smoking comedy role is definitely not the choice most actors in Hollywood would make. And stepping away from the industry during the peak of his fame to focus on charity work, travel, and faith-based priorities is even less common in a business where most stars are constantly chasing their next blockbuster deal. Fans have been waiting for another Friday sequel for years, especially after all the delays, production problems, and the loss of several beloved cast members connected to the franchise. Now, Ice Cube and Mike Epps have officially confirmed that Last Friday is finally in development at Warner Brothers, with filming reportedly expected to begin later this year. According to both actors, the new movie is expected to center around the gentrification of the neighborhood that made the original films so iconic. That angle could give the franchise a much deeper and more emotional feel, while still keeping the comedy, neighborhood energy, and street-level storytelling fans loved from the earlier movies. Instead of just repeating old jokes, the sequel may show how the community and culture have changed after all these years. But let's be real. The biggest question surrounding Last Friday has always been about Chris Tucker and whether Smokey would finally make a comeback after nearly 30 years away from the series. During a recent interview, Ice Cube and Mike Epps revealed that talks with Tucker are already happening behind the scenes. And even more surprising, Tucker reportedly seems genuinely interested in returning to the role that made him famous. Even though no official contract has been announced yet, Ice Cube sounds very confident that Chris Tucker could finally return for Last Friday. And if that reunion actually happens, fans may finally get the comeback they've been waiting nearly 30 years to see. Seeing Craig and Smokey back together on screen again would easily become one of the biggest nostalgia moments in comedy movie history. But what do you think about Chris Tucker's decision to walk away from Smokey all those years ago? Do you respect his choice, or do you think he should have returned when the franchise was at its peak? And most importantly, do you believe he'll finally come back for Last Friday? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video for more stories like this, and make sure you check out the next video popping up on your screen right now. You're definitely going to enjoy it.